Good Monday evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top news stories, let's take a quick look outside that weather window and start it off beautiful. We did see lots of blue sky after the fog we had this morning lifted. I did see blue skies around lunchtime and then a lot of clouds moved in. And look at this shot. It's almost postcard perfect, isn't it? Blag Mountain near Leavenworth looking down at the Cascade Range and some clouds up that way. And it did get very cloudy in our afternoon and we are now, well, a lot of us anyway, under a winter weather advisory, and that goes for the folks up around the Leavenworth area. We're talking Stevens Pass, Blewett Pass, Loop Pass. So yeah, you folks in Leavenworth, Plain, Lake Wenatchee, up around Winthrop and Twisp, you could see some pretty decent snow. Although in Leavenworth City itself, I'm thinking about 2 to 4 inches, but we could see up to a foot, maybe more in some mountain locations, and that's through tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So be very careful traveling in our area passes. And also, as we take a look at this week's weather ahead, light rain and mountain snow, that's pretty much in our forecast throughout the week. We will see just unbelievable high temperatures, though, especially by the time we get into Thursday and the weekend. We are talking temperatures in the upper 40s to, yes, the upper 50s, and we will talk much more weather coming up a little bit later on. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. Wildland firefighters are mourning the death of one of their own tonight. Chelan County PUD officials say escalating tensions in the Middle East have renewed concerns about possible terrorist cyber threats to our electrical grid. And Douglas County PUD commissioners are expected later today to adopt new rate increases affecting the county's cryptocurrency and data processing industry. But first, we begin tonight. 3 people were seriously injured and transported to Central Washington Hospital after a 2-car head-on collision Saturday on Highway 97, about 4 miles north of Orondo. Orondo Fire Chief Jim Odie said the crash took place about 6:48 p.m. near Daroga State Park. State Patrol reports that 22-year-old Daniel Rosalino of Orondo was driving a 1996 Honda Accord southbound in the northbound lane when he struck an oncoming 2000 Honda Odyssey that was driven by 35-year-old Jamie J. Clark of Deer Park. Both drivers and a juvenile in Clark's van suffered injuries and had to be extricated with hydraulic tools. The cause of that crash remains under investigation. Wildland firefighters are mourning the death of one of their own tonight. Kamiko Nale, a longtime incident commander and fire prevention specialist with the U.S. Forest Service, died on Thursday in an accident at her Blewett Pass home. Authorities said Nale died by asphyxiation after she was buried by collected snowfall that fell from her roof. Aside from her 26 years with the Forest Service, she was a 17-year volunteer firefighter with Chelan County Fire District 6 in Monitor. Well-wishers can contribute to a memorial fund in her honor at Cashmere Valley Bank. Kamiko Nale was 46 years old. Well, a Chelan County PUD official says escalating tensions in the Middle East have renewed concerns about possible terrorist cyber threats to our electrical grid. PUD General Manager Steve Wright explained in a recent NCWLIFE interview.
Certainly the events in Iran did send a warning flag up for everyone in the electric utility industry. I will say that we received that warning flag at Chelan PUD. The bad guys will seek any avenue they can find to get into the bulk electric power system, and even a relatively small utility like Chelan PUD could be a vehicle for them to be able to get into the bigger system and then do real damage. So we are part of a national system. We consider ourselves part of the national security defense system, that we are on the front lines just like every other electric utility that's out there. We regularly talk and discuss where those threats are coming from. We get information from the national security system. We try to make sure that we understand that, we integrate it, we take action based on the evidence that's brought forward to us. So very big issue for us. I'd love to tell you, don't worry, it's not a problem. I can't tell you that. I worry about it all the time. Because, again, these bad guys, they're constantly thinking of new ways to try to get into our system. And the one thing I will promise you is we're going to do everything we can.
Wright discussed a range of issues, including planned electrical rate increases that are subject to a February 3rd public hearing in Wenatchee. You can log on to ncwlife.com for a full link to the full In Focus program interview with Steve Hare. Well, speaking of rate increases, Douglas County PUD commissioners are expected today to adopt new rate increases affecting the county's cryptocurrency and data processing industry. General Manager Gary Ivory said in a recent NCWLIFE interview that the Board of Commissioners will take up the matter at their regular meeting today in East Wenatchee. Ivory says customers such as Saby Corporation will see a big hike in rates due to the large amount of electricity they consume. He says the rate hikes are the result of a 5-year strategic plan involving substantial public input.
Saby data centers are paying around 2.4 cents right now for their kilowatt hour charge. After 5 years, their kilowatt hour charge would be up to about 3.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So still far below the state average and far below the national average. The state average is around 7 cents. So they're concerned. It is a large increase. There's no doubt about that. These are big increases. One thing we learned through the customer feedback process, we got over 500 responses from customers, and 400 of those responses told us, you know, hold the data centers accountable. They're using all the power. Focus the rate increases and the proposals on those industries because they're the ones that are creating the problem. And so that's what our policymakers have chosen to do.
Meanwhile, Saby Corporation claims the higher power rates could prove too costly to continue operations. The Chelan-Douglas Regional Port Authority has asked for a slowdown in that planning process. The port CEO, Jim Kuntz, says there needs to be a closer look at the possible impacts to the county's economy and property tax base should the data centers be forced to close. Coming up next, I sat down with new Wenatchee Executive Services Director Laura Merrill and Wenatchee Mayor Frank Kuntz. The Wenatchee Department of Natural Resources has awarded $1.6 million in forest restoration grants to forest collaboratives across the state. 3 of those right here in north central Washington. And it took more than a month, but an Ephrata area's family's missing dog is finally back home. We'll tell you about that. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
Coming home should never be a chore. Let Merry Maids of Wenatchee customize all your cleaning needs. Weekly, bi-weekly, special occasion. Do you have a vacation home that needs cleaning? We clean them too. Locally owned and operated, let Merry Maids do the cleaning while you focus on your family and friends. Merry Maids has special offers to fit your budget. Request your free cleaning estimate today. 509-663-1710.
AC Checker has new owners who put customer service first. When you have to get there on time, call fast, friendly, reliable AC Checker, 663-TAXI. AC Checker has the industry's only on-time or it's free guarantee. Conditions apply. Call AC Checker, 663-TAXI to schedule your cab or schedule online at acchecker.com. Call American Classic Taxi, 663-TAXI. That's 663-8294.
People are really skeptical of our industry. They have been sold products, they have been sold policies they either don't need, don't understand, confusing. I understand that. We are more about the process and the people. Our SFG roadmap is designed to take care of all of those concerns. For those that have questions about their retirement, we would love the opportunity to sit down and chat with you.
Welcome back. In a press release last week, the city of Wenatchee announced the hiring of Laura Merrill as the new Executive Services Director. Merrill served as Deputy City Manager in Fresno, California for just under 2 years. I was joined by Merrill and Wenatchee Mayor Frank Kuntz last week for a visit where I learned that social media and a personal visit from the mayor himself actually played a huge part in the new hiring.
Olson Williams has gone on to Moses Lake, so you sort of go through the morning of what that looks like, and then at some point there was a little social media ping activity that happened, and so we heard that maybe Laura had moved to town, and so occasionally it's, might have knocked on her door or something and figured out if she was really a person. And,
And you did that yourself?
I did that myself. And one of the first questions I asked her, because I think sometimes in government, when you get out of government, do you really want to stay in it again? Maybe it's time to go to the private sector. So my first question to her was, are you interested in staying in government? I mean, is that something that excites you, or are you interested in staying? And she said, yeah, I anticipate getting into government again. And so that sort of started this little program where she met all the department heads and went through some interview processes. And then the more I got to know her, the more I thought she was just the right fit for our city. And so here we are a couple of months later, and we've got a new executive services director.
And Laura, that had to be an amazing knock on your door.
It was. It's still sort of kind of a funny story, to today, but it's very, it was an honor, of course, and it was just one of those things where, is this really happening? The mayor's at my door right now? And, we had just moved into our house. I was wearing my house clothes, and so it's a funny story, but again, very honored, and it was very exciting to know that this opportunity was available. And so when he asked the question, I absolutely said, yeah.
So you did have that itch to get back into government too?
Absolutely. When we moved up here, I wanted to take some time to sort of figure out the area, and I started kind of learning about the local politics, and I was following Allison's trajectory just because I thought, okay, there's going to be a position opening up, and so I was sort of paying attention to everything, knowing that, okay, whenever it happened, it would kind of happen, but to get that knock at the door, it was like, well, here it is, and here we go.
Merrill moved to Wenatchee last November and will start work on February 3rd. She replaces longtime Wenatchee Executive Services Director Allison Williams, who recently accepted the job of city manager in Moses Lake. Well, in order to help reduce fire risk, the Washington Department of Natural Resources has awarded $1.6 million in forest restoration grants to forest collaboratives across Washington. 3 North Central Washington collaboratives were awarded grant money, and they include the Chumstick Wildfire Stewardship Coalition in Leavenworth, who will receive $193,743. The North Central Washington Forest Health Collaborative, they were awarded $194,600, and the Stemilt Partnership, they were awarded $171,900. And all the funding will lead to the increased health and resilience of more than 1,400 acres of forest, while surveys and other on-the-ground activities will help restore an additional 31,250 acres. Well, it took more than a month, but an Ephrata area family's missing dog is finally back home. The Quincy Police Department tells the story of Kaya, a miniature Australian shepherd who on December 15th went missing from her home on Road 11.7 Northwest and Dodson Road outside Ephrata. Somehow, the dog made its way about 4 miles to Ephrata and then wandered around town, apparently for days, before finally being picked up by the Ephrata police at the middle school. A frightened and wary Kaya was kept at a small shelter before being transferred to the Quincy Animal Shelter. Quincy shelter manager Estella Navarro thought the dog looked familiar and checked an old post on the Lost and Found Pets of Grant County Facebook page. Sure enough, there was Kaya. She contacted owner Billy Hall, and there were tears of joy as Kaya went from sad and quiet to happy and vocal as last Thursday she was reunited with her family. Great story. You're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's features story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCWLIFE Evening News. Stay with us.
You want to help others. You need a solid career. You can have both with help from Charter College. Our 10-month medical assistant program prepares you to work in healthcare settings like physician offices, rehab centers, and clinics. You'll learn to take vitals, assist with exams, administer injections, and maintain records. When you're ready to launch a rewarding healthcare career, stop by our campus at 595 Grant Road across from Safeway, or visit chartercollege.edu.
I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service-oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Evening News. In tonight's feature story, school bus drivers working for the Wenatchee School District have spent months in negotiations for a new contract. On Friday, they took their argument to the streets. NCWLIFE Jefferson Robbins was there and has this story.
The Wenatchee School District employs about 30 bus drivers, and on Friday, practically all of them were on the street corner at Orondo and Chelan Avenue, seeking public support while they work toward a new contract.
We've been in negotiations for 9+ months, and we've made some headway, and we've worked on it together. And but we've also been a very long time coming, and it's been difficult.
As a result, the drivers' union decided to hold this noontime rally, an informational picket to seek support from passersby.
So it's just time to inform the public and take that next step. So, and we're hoping for a resolution quickly. We love our jobs, we want to keep doing it, but you know, we need a fair wage and to be treated with respect and like everybody else. So it's just our turn.
The drivers say they can't talk about specifics they're seeking from the district, but Union President Andy King says they want a contract that reflects their professional driving ability.
We try to compete with other districts around North Central Washington so that not only do we get the same or the better wages, but we want to keep our drivers when they do come here.
School bus drivers are in short supply nationally, and driver Ashley Wallace says they come from all walks of life.
They're not just retirees. We're younger, and we really need this wage to live off of. There's a lot of mothers and fathers that work for the district, and it just helps to have that stability. We love our jobs.
Negotiations with the school district, which did not return a call seeking comment, are set to resume on Tuesday. Andy King says if there's no progress, drivers plan to be back on the sidewalks for further rallies starting the same day. Jefferson Robbins, NCWLIFE.
And before we get to your North Central Washington weather forecast, I would like to add that the Wenatchee School District has sent a written statement to NCWLIFE about this story, saying it made a contract offer to the bus drivers union over a week ago. The statement says in part, quote, "We are surprised the drivers have chosen to picket instead of responding to our most recent proposal. It's our hope that an equitable contract agreement can be reached in the near future." Unquote. So we'll keep you posted of that. Now let's take a look at our North Central Washington weather forecast. Outside our weather window today. Boy, what a beauty, wasn't it? Mostly cloudy skies up around Blagg Mountain, Leavenworth down in the lower valley, but you can see the Cascades with some snow on them, some beautiful trees, and a beautiful postcard picture perfect this afternoon from our PTZ cameras. But we are under a winter weather advisory. That's for the upper elevations of North Central Washington until about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about that in a second. Unofficially today, 39 degrees. It was a nice one. 37 is our normal high temperature for this time of year. And so a couple kicks above that. 30 degrees our overnight low this morning, and that's above 26 where we should be for this time of year. Record high 54 back in 1962, and record low that was 5 below in 1969. We did pick up, that's a weekend total. Boy, we got some rain, didn't we? Over Friday night into Saturday morning. Once again, Saturday night into Sunday morning. But out of all that, 27 hundredths of an inch at the airport, so that gives us now just under 8/10 of an inch since January 1st, so we're only about 12 hundredths of an inch behind where we should be now for this type of year. 11.2 inches still steady there, and that could go up over the next week or so. Sunrise 7:33, and the sun set this afternoon at 4:54. Let's take a peek at your Tuesday weather now. A lot like our Monday forecast, except even warmer temperatures around much of North Central Washington. Almost 50 degrees for Moses Lake tomorrow, 47 in Ephrata, 45 Quincy, 43s for Wenatchee and Ellensburg, and then a little bit cooler in the upper elevations. Leavenworth, Eniat, Chelan, and Omak, all in the lower 40s with mostly cloudy skies for Tuesday and a pretty good shot for rain. We'll get to that in a second. But tonight, cloudy skies, a 100% chance for rain. And notice the greens and yellows. That's where we could see a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of rain possible tonight. This is around 11 o'clock tonight, so So overnight tonight, once again, you could hear that pounding on your rooftops out there with that heavy rain. A little bit of a break on Tuesday. We will see about a 40% chance. You can see just scattered showers around most of Washington, still under the influence of a ridge of high pressure. So we're going to stay on the mild side, and then another wave of moisture moves our direction on Wednesday. So for your hump day Wednesday, a 60% chance for rain, still mild with temperatures in the lower to mid 40s. And as we move into the end of the week now, not much change except maybe a little bit warmer. Mostly cloudy for Thursday, a 50% chance of rain. Remember, heavy rain in the greens and yellows. So if you are traveling to Western Washington, you could run into some very heavy downpours on Thursday. Cloudy, a 40% chance for rain on Friday as we end our work week. We are going to stay unseasonably warm. Look at these temperatures. These are 60-degree temperatures. And yes, the Tri-Cities and even over into Montana, 60 degrees for high temperatures we get into the upcoming weekend. Cloudy then on Saturday, a 40% chance for rain. You can see that rain moving in. But once again, under the influence of high pressure, we will see a reinforcing area of high pressure move in by the end of the weekend. And look at the size of this clockwise flow. It could bring us some shower activity late in the day on Sunday. We will cool down a bit as well as that grabs some colder Arctic air and brings it right back down into Washington State. So we're talking about a 5 to 10 degree cool down from Saturday into Sunday. Let's take a look now at your Patriot Plumbing, Heating and Cooling 7-day forecast. 34, a mild one overnight tonight. 43 your high on Tuesday, a chance for rain. That goes up to about a 60% chance for rain on Wednesday and 40 degrees. But by the time we get into the end of the week and the upcoming weekend, 53 Saturday and 43 your high temperature on Sunday. And that's a look at your local weather forecast. Coming up next, tonight's sports report with Eric Granstrom and more as the NCWLIFE Evening News continues right after this.
It's estimated that 1/3 of Americans do not have a financial plan. At D.A. Davidson, their advisors are working to change that because they understand the importance of planning for the future. At D.A. Davidson, they believe in partnering together to build a strategy tailored to your needs. They spend the time and have the knowledge to help keep your financial future on track. Let D.A. Davidson Financial Advisors of Wenatchee put the strength of advice to work for you.
And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel.
And a good Monday to you. The sports world and beyond are mourning the death of former NBA superstar Kobe Bryant today. Bryant and 8 others were killed in a helicopter crash just outside Los Angeles yesterday morning. Also on board the helicopter and killed in Sunday's crash, Bryant's 13-year-old daughter, Gianna. The two were just in the Wenatchee Valley 2 weekends ago to watch Haley Van Lith play at Kashmere High School. Van Lith had worked out with Kobe last summer after he discovered video of her and invited Haley to Los Angeles. Kobe and Gianna stayed for the entire game in Kashmere January 11th and then visited the team in the locker room afterwards. Authorities are reporting there was heavy fog in the area of Calabasas where the crash occurred. Also on board the helicopter were Sarah Chester and her daughter Peyton, who played with Gianna on the same team. Christina Mauser, an assistant coach at Harbor Day School in Corona Del Mar, California, also perished in Sunday's crash. CNN reporting that Orange County College baseball coach John Altobelli, his wife Carrie, and daughter Alyssa were aboard that helicopter. The group was reportedly flying to Thousand Oaks, California for a basketball game where Gianna was expected to play and Bryant was expected to coach. Well, the Wenatchee Wild, for the 8th time this season, split a pair of games, winning one and losing one over a weekend. On Friday, Wenatchee broke out first with goals by Brian Adams and Harrison Scott to lead 2-0 in the first period. But Trail reeled the Wild back in with a goal late in the first and early in the second to tie it at 2. Luke Ormsby gave Wenatchee the lead back at the 11:30 mark of the second, but Trail tied it just before the second intermission. Kent Johnson scored what proved to be the game winner midway through the third period, Trail winning it 4-3. Then on Sunday, Drake Usher helped Wenatchee out in an early lead, but the Smoke Eaters tied it 27 seconds later. The game would remain tied at 1 through regulation, then overtime. So it would go to a shootout. Art Checker had the call on the Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.
Left-hander languishes slowly in on the right side. In, shot, and a pass save made by Chenard. The big right-hander. He'll carve over to his left, cuts across, shot, and a glove save made by Turness. He's a right-hander as well. He carves over to his near side and dangles across. Backhander, no good. Over to his right, snakes back in. Wrister, he scores! LaPointe cuts to his left. He's another right. He shoots and he scores. A low smoker. Cuts way wide to his right. He's in, dangles across. Leave behind is kicked away by Turness. No dice in the shootout. He cuts over to the far side, fakes the backhand shot, and he scores. And I believe the Wild must score to stay alive. Matt Dorsey, the Wenatchee native. Big right-hander. He picks it up, comes right up the middle. He's in. Deke shot, and he scores! Comes right up the middle. Deke's across, shot, and that one whisked wide. He's in, he shoots, and a save made Turness. Another right-hander, slowly off to the right. He's in, he waits, dangles across, shot, and a save made by Chenard. And I'll let the crowd tell you. He's in, and denied. The veteran with a full head of steam, he comes in on the near side, shoots and rips it wide. Ormsby comes over to the right, dangles across, shot, and a glove save made nicely. Here's Matt Osadik. He's in, he shoots, and that's over the crossbar and off the glass. He's up the middle, he's in, he danks, he dekes, and a save made there by Turness. We go to the ninth shooter, and on the near side, it's Siobhan. He shoots, and a pad save made by Chenard. How about Hunter Hastings? Number 17 gets the call. He's a right-hander. He's in. He rips one, and he scores! Hunter Hastings, game winner.
So Wenatchee gets the win 2-1 on Sunday. They'll travel to Vernon Wednesday, trail on Friday, then return home to host Coquitlam Saturday at the Town Toyota Center. Let's take a look at the Les Schwab women's basketball scoreboard from the weekend. Washington lost 2 overtime games this weekend. On Friday, falling to UCLA in OT 85-81. Husky ladies then fell to USC yesterday in extras 81-78. Washington State was swept by the LA schools on Friday and Sunday. On Saturday, number 13 Gonzaga had no trouble with Loyola Marymount, winning 78-52. Southern Utah beat Eastern Washington. Central Washington down Western Oregon. And Wenatchee Valley College topped Treasure Valley 57-41. On the men's side, on Saturday, all the games played there. Number 2 Gonzaga pummeled Pacific 92-59. Number 23 Colorado was 14 better than Washington 76-62. Utah stopped Washington State. Eastern Washington used overtime to beat Southern Oregon. Western Oregon ran over Central Washington, and Treasure Valley handed Wenatchee Valley its 4th loss of the season, 74-58. Checking the Les Schwab Prep girls basketball scoreboard from last Friday. Eisenhower topped Eastmont. Moses Lake down Davis. Sela eased past Ephrata. Prosser popped Quincy. Okanagan beat Cascade, and Cashmere cruised by Chelan. Turning to Saturday's play, Davis edged Wenatchee. West Valley was more than double up Eastmont. Moses Lake stopped Sunnyside. Wapato walloped Quincy. Ellensburg beat Ephrata. Haley Van Lith had 38 points as Cashmere beat Kings. Riverside Christian edged Entiat, and Waterville Mansfield won on homecoming night in Mansfield over Manson 69-14. Turning to the boys' action on Friday night, Eastmont beat Eisenhower. Davis mauled Moses Lake. Sela topped Ephrata. Prosser had no trouble with Quincy. Okanagan crushed Cascade, and Cashmere beat Chelan. Turning to boys action on Saturday, Davis edged Wenatchee. West Valley continued to dominate the Big Nine with a big win over Eastmont. Sunnyside slipped past Moses Lake. Quincy won its first game of the season, downing Wapato 49-39. Ellensburg dispatched Ephrata. Riverside Christian caught Entiat, and Manson topped Waterville Mansfield 64-46. That's going to do it for sports news. I'm Eric Granstrom on the NCWLIFE channel. Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Eric. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCWLIFE community calendar at ncwlife.com.